All right, so I've got a texture overlay that's a nice kind of background fill for my poster. It does nice things to the texture of my spot illustration, and it helps even to kind of play with the colors and the variations in my type design. You see how it kind of brightens it up. The problem is it makes everything a little bit too bright, and it takes the color and it affects it a little too much. So there's an easy way to fix that, but in order to do that, I need to rasterize the texture fill. And once I have it at the right size, that's okay to do. Because again, this is a specific use, the poster. This is not meant to be versatile anymore. This is meant to be a poster at a certain resolution. So now that it's rasterized, I go to Image, Adjustments, and Hue Saturation. And because I have it on an overlay mode, based on the lightness of it, it will allow my original colors to come through. Right? But then I can also play with the color of it as well. So let me increase the saturation a little bit while darkening it. And I can even play with the actual hue if I want it to be a different color parchment paper than it is, like slightly yellower, slightly pinker. I have that ability. Okay, the other option is to simply make a duplicate of it, turn one of them off, and move the other one down behind my different layers, like so. So now it's just on top of the background. There we go. But if I wanted to affect the coloring, like the flat color, but just not affect my line work, I can keep it right there. And now I'm going to use, so it's kind of sandwiching again. So I'm going to use the one on the top, but I'll make this one a lot darker using hue saturation. Take my levels down and also desaturate it a little bit. So you're finding kind of the right balance. And with your texture fills, you can do things like add texture overlays, gradient overlays, add different blending modes. So this subtle kind of rainbow, I'm way overdoing this, but it's fun to play with. Hard edge, soft edged, cool to warm, reverse it, kind of like that. Play with the colors. Brighten them up a little bit. And now I actually like this enough, I want to put it above everything and then play with its opacity. All right. So that's only a 5% opacity. Now if I wanted it more just around the text, because I like it 5% for the background and what that does for my character. See, it helps break up the texture of the flat coloring. It makes it look more like it's done on the parchment, which is very effective. But if I wanted to brighten this up a little bit more, what I can do is I can select my text and now if I'm happy with it, and that's actually why I do a duplicate. So let me actually duplicate this layer, because this one had the S before I changed it. And now I'm going to turn off all effects on that duplicate. Right, so now it's just the black that's on top. And what I'll do is I'll just rasterize that in order to get a selection. So I just want to select the shape around. And now I'll select the negative space around with contiguous turned off. And then say select inverse. So now it's selecting within the text itself. Turn that off. Go up to my paper and duplicate. So it gives me just a cutout. You'll see when I take the opacity up, a little mask of that texture that I can overlay on my type. And in this case, it makes it kind of golden and pretty. Golden and pretty is nice. Then I layer all of this stuff and I see if I like it. And I can add layer effects to that. So if I want it all to be, slightly purple, I can do it as a color overlay and then set that to overlay. Maybe a slightly more bluish purple. So many options, it's ridiculous. This is why digital design is a very hard job, because you never know when you're finished. And you do tend to overdo things. But I love these layer style effects and just being able to turn them on and off. Be able to play with individual gradations and opacities. All right, so now this is all looking pretty good to me, but I'm not finished yet. I have a background, I have a border. Let me give myself just a little bit more of a border by going to canvas size and making it just a little bigger. So about a 1/2 inch on each side, go up to 18 here and go up to 27 point, let's do 7 here. Growing from the middle. And now I'm going to fill a new background. I'll just take the white, basically, and fill it again, and it will fill up the new canvas size. Yeah, and that text solution, it works well on all of these. All right, so there's one other thing I want to show you. Well, I'm letting it save. And if there's anything I might tweak a little bit on this, I think the gradient color fill or color hold on the line work of the spot illustration is a little too bright at the top. And that's easily fixed, right? I have this gradient overlay. I can simply make the scale of it less, and I can make the opacity of it less. So he's a little bit sharper. Or I could even just fix this a little bit. By letting this go a little darker. Yeah, that looks a little better. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is show you how color separations work. Because it's one thing to like how this looks on the computer. The computer is made with red, green, and blue lights. That's why these are called RGB monitors. And you can see everything here. You can see kind of the texture of the paper. For my texture fill, I have a little flat color problem there I could fix. You can see the color holds, like that gemstone, that raw gemstone, the little glints on the eyes and sparkles. Those are a little ridiculous looking, but what are you going to do? And I can fix any issues I see because I have them all organized in these different layers. So for instance, I should be able to find where that is on my colors and be able to fix it. And it's in the shadows cut edge. So all I need to do is erase it from that one layer, right? So there's all these options. I have my sparkle color holds, my twinkle color holds. If I don't think those are particularly effective, I can get rid of them. But when it comes to printing it on an actual printer, especially on a professional offset lithography printer, like professional posters are printed, just like books are printed, there are some other things I could play with. And to show you that, while this is saving, I'm going to go back in my assignments, back to assignment 7, and look at my spot illustration. Come on, open up. Here we go. So let's go to the spot illustration, which is its own Photoshop file. Same resolution, but this will be easier to show you. So this is where I did all this coloring, right? I'm going to turn off the background so it's like this. And then I am simply going to say File, Save As, a PNG. And you might have this already saved because that's how you submitted it into PhotoBucket. Okay, PNG makes it, a one layer cutout with transparency. So now let me open that PNG. La 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 la. Okay, so if I open that PNG in Photoshop, I'm going to show you how to separate it for colors on printing, lithograph colors. And I'll explain why. So we finished our poster basically. Now this is optimizing it for professional printing. So there's my PNG. Let me open that with Photoshop. This isn't going to make a lot of sense, but in the next demo I'll explain it thoroughly. So here's my PNG. It's one layer on a transparent background. I am going to go to Window and Actions. And these are actions I provided for you. They're on all of your computers. And under Carl's Customized Effects, sorry, scratch that. Above the folder Carl's Customized Effects, you'll see Carl Color Separations, Color Seps. And within that, there's one called CMYK Full Run. I'm going to select that. I'm going to close my poster assignment now that it's saved. So there's only one file open in Photoshop, and that is my spot illustration PNG. And then I'm going to hit play. And what this will do is create separate files that would be how the film work would be outputted for a 4-color lithographic print. And I end up with a combined example as a new file that looks like this. So this is made up of 4 inks: black ink on top, yellow ink, magenta ink, and cyan ink. And when you layer them all together, you get the illusion of full color. So that is how it would be printed in an old comic book. and it's beautiful. Look at that.